Thank you very much. So on behalf of Salesforce, I'd just like to thank the WMF for the opportunity to be one of the main sponsors. Our role is really to bring companies and customers together through a single view of the customer to really drive innovation and collaboration. Excellent, thank you. So in the next 20-25 minutes, I want to talk about three things with you. I want to talk about the market context. We've talked a lot about resilience, but what do we do? What steps can we actually take in order to be resilient? Yesterday, we had three fantastic customers on stage, giving you first-hand experiences around how they are working to become more resilient and adopt and improve their supply chains. I'm going to take a couple of extra customer stories, including the likes of Flex, Saint-Gobain, and Bosch. And then my closing part is really going to be our view on this, which is you need to innovate and collaborate to get through the adversity. Absolutely, you need visibility on your supply chain and your control towers, but you need to bring the data together in a trusted and secure way. But what we've heard from customers in the last 2 years is that even when they have visibility of their supply chain data, they need to take actions quicker. And the traditional methods of business communication, whether that is email, order forms, RFQs, these processes are not fast enough and are not agile enough. So how can we as a software vendor help you with that? So this is a summary report from IoT Analytics. You can scan the QR code if you want to access the report. But this was a word cloud of what CEOs were talking about in their Q3 earnings call. So really, really relevant information. And I think what is interesting here is that while the supply chain is still important, economic slowdown, uncertainty, recession, and hiring are now starting to become top of mind. And this really starts to actually change the priority in the boardroom. We know from a lot of research that as manufacturers, your input costs have gone up by about 45% in the last couple of years. Your labor costs have gone up 4% in Europe. And I think some of the latest research is that 57% of German manufacturers are now increasing their inventory positions. They are stockpiling because they have genuine concerns about the market response and response times. So how do you respond to this kind of storm that we're seeing? Because as we've heard in the panel, you know, it's supply chain today, it could be cybersecurity tomorrow. It is definitely going to be environment and sustainability issues that are coming forwards. Could someone change the slide for me, please? Okay, it's a little bit slow today. So let me just explain this slide to you. Really, this is our framework around how we help customers with transformation. So across the top, we talk about renovation, evolving, and transcending. And whenever we talk to CEOs, CMOs, CIOs, there's this mindset. One is, I need to renovate my business. I need to take out risk. I need to reduce cost. The second is, that's hygiene. How do I evolve my business? How do I evolve my processes to be more customer-centric, to be more responsive, to be omni-channel, to be more collaborative? And then the final mindset in the boardroom is, how do I transcend? Andreas talked about it from IBM there. How do I create that 10% of additional value? How do I open up new revenue streams and new partnerships? So whenever we work with customers, we don't talk about technology, we talk about culture and mindset. And in the current challenges around the supply chain, customers are asking us for 4 things. The first is, how do I manage that volatility, especially with inflation at the minute? How do I connect my sales price with my product pricing and with my material costs? How do I take cost out of my business through efficiency and automation? How do I safeguard profitability of my product? And what strategic measures do I need to prioritize? Because I have limited funds, I have limited resources, and I need to make some really, really difficult decisions. So I'm going to touch on the 3 case studies that I give you on these 4 themes. So just a little bit around who Salesforce are, because this is a question we get asked a lot. This Customer 360 wheel is our way of representing our product offering. I can spend an hour just talking through this one diagram. Don't worry, I will try and do it in literally 30 seconds. Now, the funny thing is this wheel at the minute is already out of date. So we have acquired Slack. We spent £27 billion acquiring Slack as a collaboration tool to help bring companies and customers together. we've released a net zero cloud. So if you're wanting to think about your scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3 emissions, how do you manage all of that, that carbon data, and how do you report on it? We have a cloud-based product that supports that part of your business, and is in use with some of the customers that have been on stage this weekend. But really, when I was formerly a general manager at Jaguar Land Rover for 10 years, when I bought Salesforce as a customer back in 2015, I only bought sales, service, and marketing. As a manufacturer, I needed to generate leads, I needed to provide good service, and I needed to send out informed communications. 7 years later, when I now want to work with customers, I need to talk about commerce, I need to talk about analytics, I need to talk about integration, I need to be industry specific and have manufacturing components. And how many times have we talked on this stage this weekend about the importance of upskilling our workforce? So at Salesforce, we have a training program called Trailhead. It's free, it's online, and there are 11 million individual trailblazers globally who use our training program to upskill. 11 million people are using that resource. So the tools and the capabilities are out there in the marketplace. But why else is the Customer 360 really important? It's because it integrates into your back office systems. It can plug into supply chain, to TMS, to PLM, to ERP. Again, as a former customer, I had 450 systems integrated into my CRM. You'll see an example from Flex. They had 200 systems integrated. And why this is important is because on average, as manufacturers or as retailers, you probably have 970 IT systems in your business. Not only is that a cost, but it's also a cybersecurity risk, and it's also a procurement nightmare. So we work with companies to try and reduce that IT complexity. There was a major multinational company in Europe that has sat down with us, and they've gone through 1,200 IT systems that they are going to decommission and move some of them onto our platform to take out cost, to take out complexity, and to take out rigidity. That is an enormous piece of work over the next 5 years to decommission those systems. But also we can connect those field sensors. So if you have IoT connectors on your product, you can connect those devices into your CRM, into your sales, into your service departments in absolute real time. So why does this matter for you as a manufacturer? Well, first of all, our product suite will help you modernize your commercial operations. We can integrate your revenue management. We can support your configuration, price, and quote. We can help you manage your sales agreements versus your actual revenue and income. We can simplify your partner engagement. The one thing I hear from customers on a daily basis is, I need to make it easier to do business with. Not just for my customers and my partners, but also for my employees. If I want people to stay working for my organization and not join the competitor, I need to make it easy, and I need to give them the right kind of skills. So making it easy to do business, making it easy to onboard staff, upskill, collaborate is really important. And then on the right-hand side, what we hear from manufacturers is, I need to transform my service. I've got an install base, I've got assets out in the field. I need to be able to support my field teams on any channel of their choice. And I need to be able to start to create new pathways from service back into sales. Because quite often your service reps are the ones out in the field who can actually help generate new demand. And then finally, we've talked about this a lot already today, how do I actually translate that data into action? There's no point unlocking the data, there's no point visualizing the data, unless it really helps you make forward-thinking, predictive analysis. So, we talked a lot about putting the customer at the center. What does this mean? This is just one example of a customer journey slide. We do this kind of work with all of our customers, and we say, right, let's go through the life cycle of a journey. How many different departments within your organization do they touch? How many different personas are involved? What are all of the process steps? And then, as I've said, how do we identify new pathways of efficiency? How do we help Lauren as the customer, who might be in the service stage, actually come back into the sales cycle and buy a new product? How do we use CPQ in the field so that our after-sales reps, such as Martin, can start to generate a quote in real time when they're with a customer face-to-face and not have to come back to the office, send an email to a different department, generate a quote, respond a week later? So this is what we mean about being customer-centric. It's about getting as close to the customer as you can so you understand their demands and really unifying the team around that so that you can be faster and more responsive. So, going to quickly pivot onto some customer success stories. I'm going to start with my favorite supply chain story, which is Flex. Many of you will have heard of Flex, one of the largest contract manufacturers in the world. They cover 8 industries. They have 16,000 suppliers. They spend $20 billion on material, and they have 10,000 employees just working on supply chain. 10,000 employees. So, what did we do? So they worked with us on our integration technology, on our analytics technology, to generate 84 supply chain dashboards. And Altion from our team gave you an example of what those supply chain dashboards can look like in the session yesterday. We ingest 2.2 billion data records every single day for Flex, from all of their warehouses, all of their factories, all of their supply points. And then we create those 200 plus data streams, bringing that data in, and this is a real picture of their command and control dashboard in the US, which is showing all of their geo data, all of their supply chain data. And this is really helping them to achieve real-time visibility, identify risk, and be more responsive. So they leverage Tableau to develop those insights. They allow their SMEs, their staff, to actually create their own analysis. They start to collaborate up and down the value chain around those key metrics. And the key KPIs here is that where it would previously have taken them 7 days to consolidate that report on supply chain visibility, they can now press a button and they can run all of that data in 5 minutes. And this has a tangible impact on the bottom line. 200 million in working capital savings by being able to make much more responsive actions. And you can see the quote here from John Wren. So if I move on to Klockner Pentaplast, they make plastic packaging for pharmaceutical and for food. They really needed to manage the volatility that they were seeing in the market at the start of the pandemic. And what they really wanted to understand was they wanted to understand their key operations in real time. They had an issue with customer satisfaction, they had an issue with warehousing costs, and they had limited integration between their different departments. So they took our manufacturing cloud, they took our integration and our sales and service capability. They brought that data together, they simplified the tool set, and they were able to not only just increase employee productivity, but they were able to actually start to reduce that inventory. So they're one of the Germans who weren't stockpiling in their warehouses because they were able to improve their production planning and their forecasting. If I move on to Sangaman, again, fantastic customer. So their focus here was about reducing cost. But what was really interesting was the way to reduce cost was to move faster. So you can see the stats again at the bottom of this screen. It took them a long time to close a complex deal. So they needed to integrate their teams across the entire sales process, production, marketing, sales, pricing, S&OP, and allow their workforce to be digital and mobile first. Not only did they able to increase the time to close the deal, but they were able to actually increase the value of every quote because they were able to understand their inventory positions, because they were able to effectively compile and price a quote, they were able to upsell and cross-sell additional components within their business. And again, they took a number of products from us in order to do that. And then just touching quickly on Bosch. For Bosch, it was around safeguarding profitability. Again, starting to bring formerly siloed functions together, but they needed to do this on a global level. Prior to that, they had considerable differences between regions and markets, and there was no standard end-to-end lead-to-contract process. So the former CTO, which I've just hired from Bosch to Salesforce, could not have a single demand dashboard across any of his markets because the process was completely different. So 5 months to implement, 75% increase in customer satisfaction score, and actually when they cut over from their legacy application to Salesforce, it was just 2 days of downtime before they brought the whole business back up. So let's take some stats. What does this mean for you? We recently ran a 2023 customer success survey. This was back in May to June. It was with 135 randomly selected manufacturing customers. And these stats are incredible, right? Normally you see single-digit KPI improvements. But for manufacturers, we've seen, number one, an increase in insight decision making. So what does that mean? Actually, it's about speed, as I've said multiple times, improving my speed of forecasting, improving the ability to generate reports. The second is having a fundamental impact on your bottom line by reducing errors in pricing. This is a common issue for manufacturers. So just like Sangaman, reducing the time from quote to close. But my favorite stat here is actually 8% average reduction in rebate leakage. I personally had a lot of experience in working in incentive and rebates in my previous role, where over $1 billion was managed in a 15 megabit Excel spreadsheet. It was not secure, it was not efficient. I was leaking rebate funding every single quarter. We have capability and products that actually institutionalize and systematically manage the entire rebate process. So you know exactly when and where to apply those kind of funds. If we move on, productivity, again, a fundamental impact on your bottom line. We've talked a lot about the need to onboard new resources with the kind of the Great Recession, and we can help you can help improve the speed at which you onboard employees, again through training and through making processes easier to do business with. And then I'll close here really about actually decreasing service and support costs. So overall, our manufacturing customers save 25% on their IT platform by moving over to Salesforce, consolidating, decommissioning, and making sure that the total cost of ownership of these platforms are lower. And then we were able to improve self-service so that actually partners, employees, customers can actually help resolve issues and complaints themselves without having to go through the traditional call desk method. So I'm going to close with some innovation and collaboration, a little bit of energy before coffee. So how do we help you innovate? First of all, we are a company that have produced CRM for manufacturing. We have a manufacturing cloud, the world's most complete platform that allows you to modernize your operations, simplify your partner engagement, and transform service experiences. And all of that comes with embedded analytics. And before you think it's just some of the big brands, or it's just discrete manufacturers or process manufacturers, all of the logos you see on the screen are just some of the 300 customers today that are using our manufacturing cloud across all of the different sub-verticals that you see on the screen here. And these can be enormous organizations like Siemens, right down to some of the smaller organizations that you see that are locally here. But they've all understood that actually this agility and flexibility is what they need to move quickly and to offset some of the challenges that they're facing at the minute around supply chain. So, a little bit around innovation. I mentioned Slack. I don't know how many of you in the audience here have used Slack. But this is really about taking kind of all of the human events that you have in your organization, all of those queries that are sent via email or message today. It's taking all of your system data and system events that might be taking place in your ERP, in your CRM, in AWS, or in your Google Calendar. And it's about creating an engagement layer where you can collaborate in real time. And I hope Andreas from IBM won't mind me saying that IBM is one of our biggest Slack customers globally. So what does this do for you as a manufacturer with your supply chain? Well, Slack, unlike Microsoft Teams, allows you to connect externally. You just need an email address. You can invite them into a Slack channel. You can create a Slack channel per product, per country, per contributor, and therefore you can actually start to collaborate in real time. What this does for you, as I've said repeatedly, is it reduces your time to solve issues, and it increases the ability to turn around problems and concerns much quicker than you would ever normally do in a traditional ticketing fashion. The second thing that it does is it allows you to build bots. It allows you to connect your inventory systems, your warehousing systems, and you can build bots which will help you understand and make predictions about whether you're going to run out of stock, whether you're going to actually be able to deliver that product on time. So you're in a conversation with real people, and you're in a conversation with AI in real time that is bringing that data back from those source systems and allowing you to take action. We also integrate our analytics tool into here, so you can use native language to query inventory positions, stock positions, and demand. And ultimately, this really helps improve customer satisfaction, but also employee satisfaction. So, customers that are using this today, Honeywell, great example. They set up their entire supplier relationship management stream through Slack. They integrate it into Salesforce, into SAP, into their TMS, and they create threads and communications. And the second is BMW. BMW have started to build this together so that actually when they need to escalate a quote or an RFQ with a supplier, they bring the supplier in, even if they're using Microsoft Teams, as you can see from the phone grab here, so that they can actually start to collaborate and resolve a lot quicker. So, my closing statements go back to the renovate, evolve, and transcend. All of you in this room will need to be making key business decisions across these 3 dimensions. Think about how you can renovate your business, take out complexity in your IT landscape, take complexity and cybersecurity risk out of your systems and out of your processes. Think about how you can use this opportunity to evolve the way that you run your processes today, to be more customer-centric, to break down those organizational and departmental silos. And finally, think about how you can transcend. Where are you going to get that 10% net benefit from by doing things differently, by getting ahead of your competition, and by thinking outside of the box? So I close just with a report, again, run off the research that we did this year about how, on average, we help manufacturers save 25% in terms of their IT costs. And with that, I'd just like to say thank you for having us today, and thank you for the WMF.
Thank you so much for this.
Pleasure.
I've just a quick one before we have a coffee together. And Matthew, you presented customer stories, beautiful brands of huge multinational, but how about SMEs and your experience with SMEs, which are the bulk of the, not just Italian, but European manufacturing sector?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have 200,000 customers globally, from small SMEs through to the large enterprise. I think from an SME perspective, often the question that we're asked is where do I start and how do I start? And the question back to you is, where is your biggest area of cost or your biggest area of risk? And often our solutions are completely modular. I like to give an example. It's like Lego bricks. You can buy the box of Lego, but you can choose how many bricks you assemble and in what order and what configuration you assemble those. So I'm happy to provide, during the coffee break, some examples of some SMEs and how they work with us.
All right. Thank you again.